Officer Mark Reynolds thought he knew every street in his city, but one quiet night turned into a deadly ambush that would change everything, and the terrifying attack was caught on video. The neighborhood had a calmness that many found comforting, the kind of quiet that made nights feel longer and streets almost abandoned. Streetlights flickered intermittently, casting pale yellow circles on cracked sidewalks and empty driveways. A few cars were parked along the curbs, their windows reflecting the dim light like glass eyes. From a distance, the hum of the city seemed faint, muffled by rows of houses and tall hedges that separated one property from another. For Officer Mark Reynolds, this routine route had become almost too familiar. He knew every corner, every lamppost, every pothole in the asphalt. To most people, it seemed safe, predictable, but Mark had learned that danger often hid behind the ordinary. That evening, as his patrol car glided down the winding street, the faint sound of tires on pavement mingled with the soft whine of a distant car alarm. It was the kind of background noise that usually went unnoticed, but tonight, something in the air felt different. The breeze carried a chill, cutting through the warmth of the patrol car's heater. Shadows seemed to stretch longer than usual, sliding along walls and fences in ways that didn't match the streetlights. Mark's hand instinctively hovered over his radio, a habit ingrained from years of experience, even though nothing appeared immediately threatening. Security cameras from nearby homes and a few traffic intersections captured fleeting movements, almost too quick to notice at first. A shadow darted across a driveway, another slipped between parked cars, and the glint of something metallic caught the light for a moment. No one saw the figure clearly, and yet, in the eerie stillness, it was as if the street itself had been holding its breath, waiting. The quiet was not comforting, it was a warning. Inside his patrol car, Mark adjusted his seat, scanning the empty sidewalks with trained vigilance. Residents behind closed curtains probably assumed their streets were safe, that nothing could disturb the peace of this ordinary night. Yet, the surveillance cameras hinted at a presence that would soon turn this calm into chaos. The shadows were patient, moving with purpose, observing routines, studying the familiar paths of the streets and the officer who patrolled them. As the minutes passed, a subtle tension built, almost imperceptible but undeniable. The night's tranquility was fragile, a thin veil over something far more dangerous. In those moments, no one could have predicted how quickly the quiet street would erupt into violence, or how a routine patrol would become a deadly confrontation captured forever on video. Officer Mark Reynolds had barely finished checking his mirrors when the black SUV appeared, sliding silently from the shadowed alley like a predator stalking its prey. Its dark paint blended with the night, and the low rumble of its engine was almost imperceptible. The vehicle stopped at an unusual angle across the curb, blocking part of the street as if waiting for something or someone. The subtle shift in the atmosphere sent a shiver down Mark's spine, even though his instincts told him he was only imagining it. Seconds later, the first gunshot cut through the still night. The sound was sharp and unexpected, ricocheting off the walls of nearby houses. Officer Reynolds' patrol car jolted violently as bullets struck the driver's side window and hood, sending shards of glass flying like miniature stars. The camera from a nearby house captured the moment in terrifying clarity, sparks from metal scraping asphalt, smoke curling from the car's roof, and the officer's vehicle swerving dangerously. Panic would have been natural for anyone else, but years of training kicked in, guiding his hands to the wheel and eyes to the street. The shooter or shooters moved with chilling precision. From hidden positions, more shots erupted, striking the tires and forcing the patrol car into a sudden spin. The video footage, grainy yet undeniable, showed the calculated nature of the ambush. No random firing, no hesitation, only carefully aimed bullets designed to disable, intimidate, and kill. Each shot seemed to anticipate the officer's movements, almost as if the attackers had studied him for weeks, knowing every route and reaction he might take. Mark managed to regain partial control of the vehicle, steering toward an empty driveway for cover. From that angle, cameras on surrounding homes captured silhouettes ducking behind cars and fences, completely invisible to the naked eye. The night, which had seemed ordinary just moments before, transformed into a battlefield. Streetlights flickered violently, as though aware of the chaos below, and the once quiet neighborhood echoed with the deafening sounds of violence. Then, as suddenly as it began, the gunfire stopped. The black SUV vanished into the darkness, leaving behind shattered glass, smoking tire marks, and an officer barely clinging to control. The dashcams and security cameras preserved every terrifying moment, but they offered no answers, only questions. Who had planned this ambush? How had they known Mark's patrol patterns? And most unsettling of all, why? As the neighborhood held its breath in the eerie silence that followed, Officer Reynolds realized the danger was far from over. The ambush had been executed with precision, leaving him alive but shaken, aware that someone or a group was watching, waiting, and ready to strike again. The morning after the ambush, the quiet neighborhood felt different, tense, almost haunted. Forensic teams moved like ghosts along the street, collecting shell casings, tire marks, and fragments of shattered glass. Each piece told part of the story, but none could explain why someone had targeted Officer Mark Reynolds so deliberately. Detectives reviewed every second of the surveillance footage, slowing it down, zooming in, and tracing movements that seemed almost too precise to be human. As the investigation unfolded, it became clear that this was not a random attack. Vehicles had been parked strategically along nearby streets, seemingly abandoned, but actually forming a trap to limit escape routes. Bullets had been fired from multiple angles, suggesting the involvement of more than one person. Digital footprints began to emerge, deleted social media posts, location tags, and anonymous messages that hinted at careful planning. Someone had been watching, studying Reynolds' patrol patterns, and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Suspicion fell on a known local gang, notorious for orchestrating ambushes and attacks against law enforcement. Yet, as detectives dug deeper, inconsistencies appeared. Some security footage was missing or overwritten, as if someone had erased crucial evidence. Witness statements were conflicting, and tips from the public led to dead ends. It was almost as if a shadow had infiltrated the investigation itself, obscuring the truth with deliberate misdirection. Further analysis of the street's layout revealed chilling details. The ambush had been set in a spot with limited visibility, where houses and parked cars created natural blind spots. The attackers had exploited these conditions to move unseen, strike quickly, and disappear without leaving footprints. Investigators speculated that the planning had taken weeks, possibly months, with careful observation of the officer's habits, including when he drove slowly, where he paused, and which streets he favored at night. The more detectives uncovered, the more unsettling the case became. It was no longer just a shooting. It was an intricately choreographed act of violence, executed with patience and precision. Every clue seemed designed to mislead. Every piece of evidence suggested there was more lurking in the shadows. And while Officer Reynolds recovered physically, the haunting realization settled in. The ambush had not been an isolated event. Whoever was behind it had the resources, intelligence, and audacity to strike again, and the street that once felt so safe could never be trusted the same way again. The investigation took a sharp turn when officers reviewed footage from a delivery driver who had unknowingly captured a critical moment. His dashcam, positioned slightly higher than standard security cameras, recorded a brief glimpse of movement just seconds after the ambush. A hooded figure could be seen stepping out from behind a parked vehicle, scanning the area before disappearing into a side path between the houses. The movement was subtle, almost calculated, as if the attacker knew where cameras were positioned and deliberately stayed in the blind spots. This footage became the missing piece that suggested the ambush was not just a sudden attack, but a carefully staged operation executed with strategy and patience. Analysts slowed the video frame by frame, noticing how the figure moved with confidence, never hesitating or looking disoriented. This single detail indicated prior familiarity with the neighborhood layout. Investigators began to believe that the attacker had walked these streets multiple times, rehearsing every step, marking where shadows fell, and learning exactly how much time a patrol car would take to reach that section of the road. The idea that someone had stalked the patrol routes for weeks sent chills through the investigation team. Detectives revisited earlier footage from home surveillance systems and noticed unusual patterns. Certain cars appeared multiple nights in the same positions, always during Officer Reynolds' patrol hours. The same unmarked vehicle could be spotted parked at different corners, never staying long enough to draw suspicion, yet always present when Reynolds passed by. It became clear that someone had been tracking his schedule, recording his habits, and mapping out his predictable moments. The figure from the dashcam could not be fully identified due to low lighting, but body language experts were brought in to analyze posture and movement. They noted a controlled, disciplined stride, suggesting training or experience with tactical movement. This observation raised concerns that the attackers were not random criminals, but individuals with planning skills and knowledge of police procedures. As this theory developed, the case escalated from a local investigation to a coordinated effort involving multiple departments. The footage was secure, the patterns undeniable, and the fear growing. The unseen witness the dashcam had revealed something chilling. The ambush was not just an attack, but a message. Someone had gone to great lengths to ensure it was captured on video, leaving behind just enough clues to be seen, but not enough to be easily caught. Months passed, but the tension in the city never fully lifted. Officer Mark Reynolds returned to patrol, his presence a reminder that life must go on, even under the shadow of violence. Yet every familiar street now carried an undercurrent of danger. Each passing car, every flickering streetlight, seemed to hide more than it revealed. The ambush had changed him not just physically, but mentally, shaping a cautious vigilance that never let him fully relax. Investigators continued piecing together the mystery, releasing fragments of surveillance footage to the public. Tips arrived in waves, some promising leads, others dead ends. A few names surfaced repeatedly, but each turned out to be a false trail. The mastermind behind the attack remained elusive, ghost-like, leaving authorities frustrated and the community anxious. Every unanswered question fueled fear, speculation, and paranoia. Who had orchestrated such a precise attack? Were they planning another ambush? And how had they managed to vanish so completely after the first strike? Then, a routine traffic stop changed everything. A man matching partial descriptions from witness accounts was apprehended, and a search of his home revealed detailed maps of the neighborhood. Streets were marked, camera locations circled, and patrol patterns annotated. It was undeniable he had played a direct role in planning the ambush. However, even with this arrest, the larger network remained unidentified. The black SUV, the hidden shooters, and the orchestrator behind the plan were still out there, unseen but dangerously present. The city breathed a cautious sigh of relief, but the resolution was incomplete. Justice had been served in part, but the chilling reality lingered. Some criminals are designed to disappear, leaving only chaos and fear behind. Officer Reynolds continued his patrols, aware that his survival had been a narrow escape. Each night on the streets reminded him that ordinary places can harbor extraordinary danger, and that shadows can hide threats, waiting for the perfect moment to strike again. The dashcam and security footage remained a haunting testament to what had happened. It captured the skill, planning, and cold precision of the ambush, serving both as evidence and a warning. While one man faced consequences, the city and Officer Reynolds knew the world contained forces that could not always be stopped. Some mysteries, some threats remain at large, lurking in the quiet spaces of familiar streets. And for those who watch the video, the terrifying realization settles in: the night, no matter how calm, can hide deadly intentions. And survival often comes down to a matter of seconds, luck, and vigilance.